RWBY just had its best episode to date, and I cannot wait to talk to you guys about it. RWBY Volume 7, Chapter 11, Gravity, is hands down the best episode of RWBY that we have ever gotten. From the fighting, to the writing, to the voice acting, this episode was on a completely different level from the rest of the series. And I consider myself a huge Volume 2, 3, and 6 fan, but this episode easily outclasses almost every single episode that I've previously considered to be the best. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. To truly understand what makes this episode so great, there's a few things you need to understand. First of all, I don't think you can truly appreciate this episode unless you're an avid RWBY fan. While you can still have a good time with the episode and see some amazing fight scenes, the episode only truly shines its brightest when it's linked together with past events. And you'll see what I mean as we get in a little further, so just bear with me. So, at the end of Volume 7, we get the setup of the Ironwoods vs. Watts fight. And while many of us could see this fight coming from a mile away, the overarching narrative and the execution of the fight itself made this one of the best fights the show has ever had. I mean, seeing two characters fight that have absolutely no attachment to each other can still be fun, but for it to be awesome and truly be remembered, there has to be some sort of connection with something at stake. The Ironwood and Watts fight has got a few different things going for it. You figure Watts and Tyrion have been framing Ironwood by killing his enemies. Watts worked with Jock Sneed to try and get Ironwood thrown out of power. Watts has been hacking Mantle and Atlas tech, as well as being the one who designed the virus that allowed Cinder to hack into the CCTV and inadvertently cause the fall of Beacon. And now we find out Watts has always been frustrated with Ironwood for years because he feels that he didn't recognize his genius and that he is truly superior to Pietro. And then on the other side, you have Ironwood, who treats his Atlas military as if it was his child, and he's just trying to do his best to save the world from Salem. He's been backstabbed and betrayed by countless people, and now thanks to Watts, everything he has worked for and suffered for has vanished in the blink of an eye. Every move he makes is now constantly criticized, and now all of his efforts to save the people has gone up into flames, and he's gonna be forced to take extreme measures because of it. So, the tensions and animosity between these two are already at an all-time high, but the other interesting aspect of this fight is the location. Amity Coliseum was the perfect location for this fight to happen in. This is the place where Salem's forces finally made their move, where Ironwood's army was used against him, and ironically enough, is set to be a beacon of hope to fight back against Salem. So the fight between these two is, simply put, beautiful. The use of the song Hero playing in the background as these two beat the absolute crap out of each other instead of talking was a perfect touch. Instead of awkward encounters as they fight, we're able to focus on the stellar animation choreography, and that really makes us feel like we're actually in the Coliseum watching them fight. So the fight between the two ends in a stalemate, but Watts has another trick up his sleeve. He traps Ironwood's arm with his rings. He declares victory and tells Ironwood that moving will bring him immense pain. But instead of sitting there and taking it, Ironwood decides to destroy his own arm. But you need to remember, this is his human arm. There is no metal on this arm at all. So, Ironwood destroys his own arm and attacks Watts, and he states that he will sacrifice whatever it takes to defeat Salem, which is going to play a key part later on in this episode, so keep that in your mind. So now we move over to Crow, Clover, and Robin versus Tyrion. This fight definitely mirrors the previous fight. The Crow versus Tyrion fight from Volume 4 up until this episode was one of my favorite fights. And now we have the long-awaited rematch with both sides holding grudges. Crow because he was poisoned last time they fought, and Tyrion because RWBY and Crow cut off his tail. And what made this fight interesting is that since we know Crow and Tyrion were basically evenly matched, adding Robin and Clover to the fight would assure his loss. And you would think that that would make it boring, but it didn't. We got some nice team-up shots, and we got to see more of Clover and Robin's weapons, but there's not really that much more I want to talk about with that fight. But, as always, it was nice to see Tyrion's craziness, And my favorite part of the whole thing was seeing Robin kick him in the face. It was great. He finally shut up. So, these two amazing fights were definitely the highlights of the episode, but they aren't the best parts. After defeating Watts and returning to his office, Ironwood hastily orders a retreat and orders Team RWBY and the Aesops back. It turns out that Cinder has already infiltrated the school and left the Black Queen chess piece, which was the symbol that preceded the fall of Beacon, on his desk. Ironwood finally realizes that Salem has been one step ahead of them the entire time, and he questions Blake and Yang about their loyalty, and if they were the ones who told Robin about the tower. The group argues, and then a projection of Salem shows up. RWBY stands up to her and tells her that they've already stopped all of her underlings, and she reports that they were never meant to win. They were only there to set the stage for her arrival. She tries to get Ironwood to surrender the staff and lamp, but of course Ironwood refuses, even after her threats on his kingdom. RWBY tells her that they saw everything from Jen, and that they don't need to kill her to stop her, but they definitely will stop her. And then we get the most bone-chilling sentence that we've heard Salem utter yet.
Your mother said those words to me.
My mother?
She was wrong too.
It's been so long since Summer was last mentioned, and this was our first direct confirmation, I think, that Salem and Summer actually met. While not necessarily saying that she killed her, we know that Summer failed to stop Salem. And after hearing this, poor little RWBY can't control her emotions, and her silver eyes freak out on her, and she falls to the floor in tears as Salem disappears. After finding out that Salem is headed towards Atlas, the group finds out that all of their defenses have been destroyed, and that Salem is about to attack. Ironwood tells us that he's already sent Winter to claim the power of the Winter Maiden, and that he will also be keeping the lamp. He tells Team RWBY that they betrayed him, and now his plans have changed. He is going to use the power of the staff to raise Atlas high in the air so Salem simply cannot reach them. But the problem with this plan is that once he raises Atlas high in the air, the people in Mantle will be left to die, unable to fend for themselves or to protect themselves from the Grim attacks. And he justifies his actions by saying,
"Sometimes doing the right thing means making tough decisions."
The girls try to stand up to him, but it's too late and he's already made up his mind. He is going to declare martial law so that he can take complete control of the situation. And pause. Can we please take a moment to just look at that look of shock, disappointment, general heartbreak, and sadness that Weiss is experiencing? This hurts my heart. She thinks of Ironwood as a fatherly figure, and now he's betrayed her trust. Y'all know how much I love Weiss, so seeing this hurt me deeply. Anyways, he's intent on carrying out his plan, and Team RWBY is now in his way. As things are heating up, John calls them on the comlink and tells them that something bad has happened, and RWBY uses this chance to hurry up and tell everybody Ironwood's plan, but he cuts off the comlinks and orders the Aesops to arrest them. What? Ironwood walks out, and RWBY tells him that they won't go quietly, and with a very regretful tone, he says,
I know.
Oh my goodness. This episode ends with Team RWBY and the Aesops staring each other down, and us finding out that Oscar has been attacked and now is missing. This freaking episode blew away my expectations for the series, and it feels like a proper sequel for the intensity that we got during Volume 3. I didn't really want to do a long form review of the episode, but there was just so much fantastic writing, beautiful shots, and great moments in the episode that I just couldn't think of any other way to do it justice. Going forward from this episode, I expect the rest of the volume to deliver even bigger and better moments. And if the words of certain animators is to be believed, then moments that are going to shock us and leave us at the very edge of our seats. Oh boy. So anyways, if you're interested in seeing my non-filtered opinions of this episode, follow me over on Twitter at Loony_Chuuni, and consider subscribing, because I have a feeling that by the end of this volume, we're all going to need each other to help with the pain that we're going through. Oh man, RWBY, RWBY, RWBY. But anyways though guys, that's gonna wrap up this video. I hope you guys have all enjoyed and that I was able to shed some light on you guys on this topic. But yeah, anyways guys, until the next video, best wishes.